Hi there, this is my poster entitled An Aesthetic Preference for Scenes Containing Object-Orientated Gaze. We found some literature suggesting that we prefer scenes with objects generally presented in the middle of the scene, the power of the centre, but also some evidence that we prefer objects, particularly when they're agents within a scene, to be placed off-centre such that they're looking inward with respect to that scene, so an inward bias. And this inward bias might be because we're predicting where that agent is going to go, but it could be that we prefer being able to see or have a greater chance of seeing what that agent is seeing. So if that agent's looking inward with respect to the scene, they are necessarily looking at the larger portion of that scene. To test this, we had a 2x2 design where we placed objects in the centre or non-centre of that scene with an agent appearing, a face, and that face would look inward or outward. So a 2x2 design, expecting to find main effects of each gaze direction inward versus out and object central versus non-central. But crucially, we expected the highest preference to be for agents looking inward at objects that are centrally located. When we did this, we actually found that gaze seems to trump everything else. So we found indeed main effects for each of the two variables, but if you look at figure 2, you can see that this is a rating, preference rating for each of those 4 conditions. When the gaze is pointed towards the object, regardless of its location, and this is when you get the highest ratings. So we're kind of left with a situation where we think we've shown evidence that an inward bias can be explained somewhat by gaze, so gaze direction towards objects. However, given that we found out of these 4 conditions, the second most preferred version seems to be gaze pointed towards objects even when that gaze is pointed outward with respect to the scene and the object is located non-centrally. These are certainly maybe additive effects and separate effects. So we're not yet able to confirm that our hypothesis that the inward bias is due to kind of gaze interaction potential. We can't confirm that's the underlying mechanism. We have since done a follow-up study testing whether this is high or low level, but I can talk more about that in person in the poster session.